I'm 42 and I've been gambling since I was 6 years old.
You tell yourself, oh, it's okay. I can blow this $2,000 right now. It's no problem. I'll make it back.
This past month is the first month I haven't gambled in 2.5 years.
I guess if this is really going to truly help anybody, you have to realize that you're not alone out there. And I thought I was.
First, I would go once a month, twice a month. Then that wasn't enough.
The gambling addiction seems to often start with a fairly naive or innocent experience or brush with gambling itself. So, for example, a person goes to a casino or maybe has a trip to Las Vegas, and typically they have a big win their first time out, or just a win, which is a very reinforcing thing.
So I said, oh, why not? So I stuck in $40 and I ended up winning $3,000. And it was the beginning and the end.
Well, I loved it. I loved the slot machines, the lights, the excitement.
And then it increases. Then it, $5 turns into 20, and 20 turns into 50, and 50 turns into 100. And sooner or later, an hour is not enough for you to be there at the casino. And, an hour turns into 2, and 2 turns into 6, and before you know it, you're just caught up in this web of lies and everything.
Gambling is one of the most insidious addictions. It is an addiction that has a much higher homicide and suicide rate associated with it than other addictions. And the reason for that is that when you hit bottom as a gambler, you're 300 or 400 feet deeper than when you hit bottom with other addictions.
I just turned 50 in November last year, and I started gambling 2.5 years ago.
About 95% of the population gambles at least once a year or more, and the vast majority of them never develop a problem with it. There's different levels of gambling problems, so it's sort of along a continuum. There's the very severe type of gamblers, the compulsive or pathological gamblers, and that's about 1% to 2% of the adult population. But if you look at people who develop less severe but still problematic gambling behaviors, that's an additional about 3% of the population. So all told, about 1 out of 20 people, 5% of the adult population has some problem with the gambling.
The wide body of research that exists on this topic, nationally and internationally, show that in general, people who are poor, in other words, low-income people, the elderly, people who abuse drugs or alcohol, and teens are most at risk. In our state, there's some evidence to suggest that women are also an at-risk group.
But it just became an obsession to stay there. Staying there was more important than winning. I remember one night when I left, I said, God, this is better than sex.
I stopped going to nightclubs. I used to go dancing and go out with my friends, go out to eat. I didn't want to do that anymore. All I wanted to do is go to the casino.
Now, driving there, I would daydream of everything I would do when I win $1 million. But when I'm there, the most important thing is just staying there.
I don't worry about anything. If I'm sick, I don't feel it. If I'm depressed, I don't feel depressed. You don't feel anything. It puts you in a zombie-like state.
To me, it was my world. When I was at a casino, it was kind of like fantasy land for me. And all my problems and issues from from the outside went away.
I came to work one day and I was pale from a trip from Vegas, and I had maxed out one of my credit cards for $10,000, and I was sitting there saying, oh my God, what did I do? That's when it really hit me.
What was rock bottom for you?
I took money from my employer to pay off some gambling loans that I fell behind on, and eventually wound up turning myself in.
Is lying and stealing from your employer, is that the character you know yourself to have?
No.
So you wouldn't say that's you?
No. I mean, gambling, regardless of how strong a person says they are and how educated or what, it turns you into a person that you don't know who you are.
So you were in trouble, and I take it that this jeopardized your job?
Oh yeah, I lost my job.
Was that bottom?
I hope so. I mean, I can't, I can only hope for what's in the future, but I certainly hope that was bottom. You know, I have a college education, and in the back of my mind, I could have gotten another job, which I did. But having to come clean to your family, to your parents, to the people that love you, that was probably rock bottom.
How do you see
And it was totally gambling's fault, totally. I mean, there's no question about it.
Was it gambling's fault?
Well, it was my fault, but I mean, gambling was the addiction that led to me taking the money. I mean, it's all my fault. I mean, myself, I take personal responsibility for that, but it was because of the addiction to gambling.
So when we're in that place, it's easy to make excuses or blame other people for what's going on with us.
Real easy, real easy. I mean, it's everybody else's fault but yours, and it doesn't matter what happens. Gambling's not bad, and it's not addicting, and you have it under control, and you can walk away anytime you want to, and you can stop anytime you want to. And that's all part of the lie. You have to con yourself into, oh no, it's okay, it's okay. I mean, there was times that I'd blow my whole paycheck in a night, and then wonder, all right, how am I gonna pay my car this week, or how am I gonna eat?
The central element of problem gambling is impaired control. And impaired control on three elements. When you decide to gamble, gambling more money in a session than intended, gambling for a longer period than intended, and gambling more often than intended.
A lot of times the symptoms are common to that of alcohol and drug. Preoccupation is one. Preoccupation with the addiction, the need to go and gamble, to escape from other things that are occurring in their lives, such as family problems, such as problems with relationships or employment.
Gamblers often feel, that's one of the earliest warning signs actually, is gamblers start to feel guilty about how much they're gambling and regretting how much they spent or where that money was supposed to go, and it ended up going to gambling.
Yes, I would go at lunch, we'd take a long lunch, or take a couple of days off here and there just to go to the casino.
And there's times where, you know, me and my friends would go out and we'd get home and I'd sneak out. I had a roommate at the time, and I'd sneak out so that he wouldn't hear me leave and go to the casino.
You learn all the secrets. Like you can get 2 months behind on P&M, and then you have to pay the electric company, and you have to pay the previous month to keep them from turning off. I was ignoring my work. I was neglecting a lot of personal things I needed to do. And when I wasn't at the casino, that's all I thought about was when I could go.
You know, they will look forward to the time they're going to spend gambling, and part of that is a ritual that begins. The ritual of finding my machine, finding the one that I'm going to hit on today.
So I called my sister and lied like that my hot water heater was going out, my well was going out. So she lent me $1,600, and that was supposed to cover all the bills. But the next day I went back and spent another $1,000.
It's like living a second life. I mean, you have to create other places you hang out at, because you can't tell your friends, well, I was over at so-and-so's house, because they were probably there. And then they'll wonder where you're at, or why is he lying to, where is he going? Because I mean, I would stay, I can remember staying 18 hours at a casino at the same blackjack table and not leaving. What do you tell your friends?
The lying becomes really continual. It's a continual process of trying to cover up how much money you're spending, where you're getting that money from, where you are, what you're doing. And as the people, start lying, you might make your first lie could be very benign, but as the problem progresses and you feel the need to lie more and more, they get more and more and more out of control.
My savings was gone. Started to borrow against my 401k plan. Everything that I had of value was, I sold it. Started borrowing from people. Any place that would loan me money, I owed money to. Every loan place in town.
I've heard stories about starting to sell possessions, pawning, taking loans from these loan companies, and they're just trying to continue to feed into their addiction, whereas they're totally unaware of anything around them relating to why they're in their situation.
About 30% of pathological gamblers actually will take money from their place of employment, and they have, for the most part, every intention of paying it back. It's just they need money desperately to gamble, so they may borrow from their work, planning on paying it back, and then they end up losing it, and then they can't pay it back.
You want to run, you want to leave, you want to take your life.
We found in our research that about 70% of people who seek treatment for gambling have significant suicidal ideation, and 17% of them have actually made a suicide attempt.
I've heard some of my clients talk about sitting in the middle of the railroad track waiting for the train to come. Feeling that bad at that moment, but luckily, they just thought about the whole situation and drove off. I do not have any opinion on whether or not casinos are good or bad. It's just that I know that casinos now have established within their own casinos that they are trying to help those that are having problems with the gambling, and which I feel is good. There are no liquor establishments or restaurants that are helping those customers that are having problems with alcohol, but casinos are taking a different step. You know, they are trying to assist those that are having gambling problems.
Robert, how are you?
All right, you?
Ethically, we don't need those patrons in this property. I don't want them here. I have enough people coming in here for the entertainment value of the casino.
You won? Yes, we did.
How much?
$1,000.
$1,000. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're in the entertainment business. We're not in the destroy lives business, so I don't need those people. I don't want them here. When we're able to identify them, we throw them out and we ban them from the property. Typically, those people will run out of money. And one of the tells for us is when they start bouncing checks. I'll bring them in my office and I'll ask them, you know, why are you bouncing these checks? And of course, they'll go through the whole excuse scenario, and then I'll just flat out ask them, are you having a gambling problem? And 90% of the time, there'll be a long pause, and they have an expression as I've been had. You know, they figured me out. Once I get them to admit that there's an issue, that they have a gambling problem, we try to get them to self-ban from the property, and we have a form that they fill out. It's a very basic form. It just says that, you know, I am so-and-so on this date. I'm banning myself from Sky City Casino. You're banned. You're banned from the property, period. You can't come on this property for any reason. You can't come to the shows. You can't come to the boxing. You can't come to the restaurant. You can't even come walk in the front door at this point. And then they say, well, how long is that going to last for? And I say, forever. I don't want to give the impression that we just throw them out the door and say goodbye and wash our hands of them, because that's not really what we do. I think collectively amongst all the casinos here in New Mexico, we feel that it's an ethical issue. The tribes are very aware of the problems of substance abuse, and gambling is a substance abuse. And we want to treat it the way it needs to be treated, as a problem. We don't want to brush it under the carpet.
I knew the Gamblers Anonymous number by heart. I mean, because it's in every bathroom you go to in the casino, and there's posters everywhere. I knew it by heart.
It takes time for an individual to realize that they've lost control over the activity. No one came to my office saying, please help me, I'm winning all the time, right? They have to face negative consequences, and that will make them realize that they've lost control. So this is the main element.
You have to be willing to pick up the phone and call. I mean, like I did, I mean, it's the gambling hotline is probably the best thing that happened to me, because once I did that, I knew that I wasn't alone out there.
We have people call us all the time that have been carrying our card around, or our number around, or a lottery ticket around that has our number on it for 2 years. And it was just, well, they weren't ready yet, but thought, well, you know, I haven't tried that yet. I never did call that helpline.
I can tell you this, people feel very discouraged up front about doing anything. First of all, they're tired and they're discouraged and they're scared, quite frankly. And they're scared about anybody knowing. But I want to be sure to convey that there is hope, that people can get better, that we can succeed with this disease. The first step, however, is being willing to admit that there's a problem.
They don't want to feel that pain in their lives any longer. They need to make a commitment to address it. And GA is one of the main initial points of addressing that.
Actually, that's one of the great advantages of Gamblers Anonymous is meeting other people with the same problem that you've got and seeing that other people have overcome the problem.
Although it seems bad at the time, I mean, you will pass it. You will survive it, and it's going to seem tough, and it's going to seem like the world's caving in on you. But you can survive.
I am honored as well as humbled to be able to participate in this workshop these next 4 days with all of you. And as our the New Mexico Responsible Gaming Association is light years ahead of the rest of the country. They've established their own fund. They have trained treatment providers in communities throughout the state. They're working on a response team model. They're really setting the example for the rest of the country.
I really don't take a position on legalized gambling. It is what it is. I believe that we have to be responsible about the fact that there is going to be a percentage of the population that is going to get in trouble because there is legalized gambling.
So to be responsible then means that the casino industry does exactly what's happening here today, is that they're bringing experts in and they're willing to acknowledge the reality that there are people for whom gambling is a destructive activity.
I came to the conference wanting to have a better sense of process in working with gambling addicted people and to have more information about tools to use when working with that population, and this conference is providing that.
It's innovative, it's completely new and different. It's something that hasn't had a lot of research done, and so people here are really knowledgeable.
I think that we just need to be able to help people to look at this a little more responsibly and to help them so that they're not hurting themselves in the process.
They are making them aware of help being available to them through GA or helplines, and that is something that I feel is a step ahead of some of the other states that I'm aware of. I'm not sure of any other state that is doing something similar to what the New Mexico tribes are doing.
If you're a New Mexican and you're living in New Mexico, receiving treatment, regardless of your financial position, should not be an issue in this state. You should be able to contact us and receive help through that treatment fund that's been established between the Responsible Gaming Association and the New Mexico Council.
This past month is the first month I haven't gambled in 2.5 years.
I really think that what we're talking about is harmony and balance, and those two are key components on how do we justify it. It's more of how do we walk in balance with this so that we as families, we as elders, walk in a good way so that it doesn't hurt anybody. And I think that goes for all life. How do we walk in balance in anything that we do?
The urge is there, and I've come close a couple of times to going back.
I'm making some progress. I've paid down some bills, and I know I still have a long way to go. But I'm going to work on it.
Do you feel like you're over it?
No. I'm always tensed up.
I think if you interviewed people, even who are 20, 30 years out, in other words, they've had 30 years of recovery, they will tell you that there isn't a day that goes by they don't think about gambling. And there are sometimes days that go by where they thought about gambling several times during that day. But they're able not to act on it.
Anytime there's a thought of gambling, I mean, that's all I have to remember is the first time I had to pick up that phone and explain to my parents what happened. And hearing your mom on the other end just break down in tears is not it's not a good feeling. And I mean, it hurts me every single time I think about it, regardless of how many times I do. It hurts every single time.
I had a little bit of money a couple of weeks ago, and I said, this is nice. I went and got a haircut. I went and bought some food, and I said, I like this. I like having money. So hopefully that, I'm trying to focus on that, how good that felt. Not to go throw it away.
It's something that happens in everyone's life where they stumble and they fall, and you know, reach out and get some help, because you can pick up the pieces, and you can move forward.
The key message is that it exists, that there is a losing side of the equation, that we need to educate people about the fact that for every dollar won, there's a dollar lost.
Certainly we've seen some social issues that have arisen as a result of gaming, such as pathological gambling or addictive gambling. But on the other hand, gaming is certainly an avenue for the economy to get better in communities as well.
And with the casinos giving them that opportunity is real important. Getting them in contact with someone such as a therapist or a hotline that they can directly contact with is real important for that step toward anyone's addressing their addiction.
I don't know if somebody can do it alone, but they have to take that first step to reach out and help someone.